Star Trek 57, M23, take 2.
It's the It's Got Star Trek podcast.
My superiors would have me solve this murder by rounding up 10 Bajorans at random and executing them. I'm hoping you'll give me a better alternative. Now, these Bajorans won't talk to us, but they seem to trust you. I understand you used to sort out petty disputes concerning food, blankets, everyday sorts of things. They come to you?
I suppose I'm considered a neutral observer.
Of course. You're not one of them. And for that, you should be thankful.
Did we start?
Now we've started.
Hey, you guys, did we start?
Hey, you guys.
Oh, wait, I have to remember we dealt with
too.
this. Hey, Jesse, remember last week? This was a whole thing.
I don't even care this week. I don't even care this week. No. I don't give a shit about nothing.
Dan made a big deal about this last week, and he was right to. So I'm going to do this properly.
Well, you can do it whenever you want. You just got to do it. You can do it.
Desperately trying to do that right now. So,
okay.
Well, let's do the thing.
Okay.
And then everyone will be happy.
I don't even care this week.
What's the thing this? Oh, I forgot.
Okay.
I don't care anymore.
The thing is that last week we apparently...
Ask me if I care.
We apparently started the podcast in a non-standard fashion.
Nobody...
And the problem is that Dan had planned a thing, a gag.
Okay.
It's not based off of our regular pattern.
Yeah, so
and we went off of the regular pattern, so his gag got ruined.
And it wasn't...
And it sucked because it was a good gag.
And the thing is I wouldn't even go so far as to say I planned it because we had done this thing in such consistency that you didn't really have to plan for it. It was just sort of implied at that point.
I still think it counts as being planned. As in other words, you had a reasonable expectation.
Right. Okay. Fair enough.
We went off pattern.
But
and as a result, it fouled up your little gag.
But if you'll recall, the part that how the pattern got all fucked up, where you didn't say the thing in the way you usually say it. What I said last week, words I used was that was surmountable. But the problem is that after you said it, then everyone just started going woobity boobity boobity, and nobody paused. That was the bigger issue.
And then there was that whole thing. Was that last week or the prior week when Jesse kept saying murder?
I think that was the week before.
That was probably the week
before.
Yeah.
And then Jesse...
It wasn't in the beginning. It was
Jesse continued that riff last week. He didn't say murder, but he was doing more.
Okay.
Well, that's the kind of shit I do, motherfucker.
Okay.
We'll see. That's just what you do. I guess that's just what he does.
We'll see what happens.
What am I to do if that's what he does?
We'll see
what
happens.
am I to do?
We'll see what happens this week. But the only way we can see what happens is by commencing.
Commencement begin.
We begin. So, with that prelude aside,
yes,
I would like to welcome.
Henceforth.
Welcome. I would like to welcome the audience. Welcome to episode 293 of the It's Got Star Trek podcast.
Quark, at your service.
There we go.
See, wasn't that funny?
It was great.
I liked
Dan.
it.
Wasn't that funny?
That was a good gag.
That was a good one.
It was one of those ones that's so sophisticated I won't get it until I listen back later.
Yeah. Well,
you
don't get it. What's not get it? What's not to get? At your service.
I'm not gonna get it until later, I guess.
Well, it's like welcome to the podcast. We're at your service. That's what's to get.
Oh, I thought it was Quark. Never mind.
Yeah, that's what it says. Quark at your service.
Quark.
It's like at your service. Part of the thing about playing the sounds is you want to balance between something that is bespoke to the conversation at hand, but you also want to make it fit the entire quote. You don't want to cut the quote up too much. So sometimes you'll have things that will include part of the episode, like their names or something like that, because that makes it seem like it's
Do you have
more,
an example?
That makes it seem like it's more part of the episode.
Of course.
I
course
think I
do.
see what you're getting.
Of course I have an example.
So of course was an example of a contextual response. So that works as in place of host dialogue.
Right.
Gotcha.
Right. But then there's also sometimes it'll include
some representative clips.
Sometimes it'll include people's name in it, like Quark at your service. I'm sure I have another one around here somewhere, but I can't seem to find it at the moment because I was not expecting to have to look for such a thing.
It's rare.
But if I find an example of it, I will point it out when I play it, because I know in here somewhere I have an example of a contextual statement that also includes somebody's name in the episode. See, you got to be flexible with this kind of thing, man. You got to. You can't expect me to get like perfectly fit. Part of the fun is it fits, but it also reminds you of the episode at the same time. You want both.
I mean, I really don't think that happens that frequently with your bits.
Yeah, right? Well, this was really Jesse in response to Patrick saying, "I don't even understand how this could have anything to do with what we were talking about when I played
Quark at your service."
He was like, I don't understand how that could possibly have anything to do with welcoming someone to the podcast. It just doesn't make any sense to me. Doesn't make any sense to me.
I'm enjoying your impersonation of me. It sounds very much like Chris Farley for some reason. But we should move along home and get into the meat of the discussion, into the discussion proper, because this is a podcast on the topic of
we have to get to it eventually.
The episode, which we haven't even mentioned yet.
No, we haven't.
Okay.
That's also part of it.
But here's the because. There's the also and the because. And the because.
Are there any witnesses?
It's an additional because. There are many
because of
the wonderful things he does.
But because necessary evil, which is
the reason for this exercise is beyond my comprehension.
Oh, okay. Well, so that was an interesting one, because the first part you're like, oh, that's responding to what I said, because I said necessary evil, and you said the reason
for this exercise is beyond my comprehension.
Is the reason for this exercise would answer, because the exercise in this case is us doing the podcast,
right?
But then it has the extra bit.
Yeah, it's layered.
Yeah, okay. It's layered and complex.
It's very layered.
Just
it's like very complex.
This is an advanced podcast.
Doubly so.
I'd say so. I'd say triply.
Triply so.
But because necessary evil, the episode we are discussing this week.
Yes.
From Deep Space Nine's second season.
Yes.
It's the 8th episode of the second season, and that appeared...
It was a long time ago.
Yes, that's true. I would say about 1994-ish.
Yeah, that's over.
I barely saw it.
30 years.
And Necessary Evil is one of my favorite all-time Deep Space Nine episodes.
I can see
why.
Yeah, well, there you go. So Jesse
cancel each other out.
What's the lady? Mrs. Vatrick. Do we know her? Palra.
Yes.
Vatrick Palra?
Right,
no, it's Palra Vatrick. Palra Vatrick. Unless you go by the...
Yeah, but isn't the Bajoran usually...
Valtric
Is it custom to
Palra.
do the last name first?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't care.
All right. But yeah, I just wanted to get that out of the way up front. I don't know what you all think, but from the time it aired, I remember watching this on old-fashioned...
November 15th, 1993?
Television. Oh, 93. So yes, because the first season was sort of
super
shorter
fucking
season.
old.
Yeah. Anyway.
All right.
So Necessary Evil is a longtime favorite of mine.
Mm-hmm.
I love this story. We'll get into
why.
all the bits and pieces.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I just want to get that out of the way at the beginning so people will have some context for the conversation.
Thank you.
But
otherwise, they don't know what we're talking about. Just rambling on about this. Are they talking about Star Trek now? Or are they talking about Pulp Fiction?
Or Spaceballs. And we could be talking about Spaceballs since it was announced earlier in the week that Spaceballs 2 is coming out with Mel Brooks.
Certainly.
Yes, Mel Brooks and all the not dead people appear to be coming back, including Tim Russ.
Lying.
Tim Russ seems like he's coming back to find some more
Mel
shit.
Brooks is like 99 years
98, 99, yeah, I think he's
In your minds.
You know what's funny about that? Because he says in your minds, but I made it sound like
In your minds.
in your minds.
Oh,
they
and
call it a mind.
yes, minds, like delving into the minds versus delving into your mind.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Delving into something.
But before we get too far ahead of ourselves, just a heads up that we will have not a second break fun 'em up, but rather a second break suggest 'em up.
Oh.
I'm not going to play your game.
Yeah, it's not.
I think you are.
It's not a game. It's a suggest 'em up. That's why I named it something different to differentiate it. There's no element of gameplay to it really. It's more a list of potential suggestions that are relevant to this episode.
Might be helpful.
It may be helpful for some people. Honestly,
Some people are very suggestible.
Okay, well.
No.
It's probably a different topic of
It's a
conversation.
different podcast altogether.
Okay. So. Okay. Necessary evil. We will begin this conversation, and we
We'd
don't.
be at it all night.
Well, we may be. We'll see how it goes. But we'll begin this conversation and see where it flutters off to. But we should begin just by calling out the obvious, which is that this is a straight up film noir.
Yes, and there were a lot of examples of that. Like, for example, it began with the whole thing, which I could relate to, where Odo is complaining about how it's like, Commander Sisko wants me to like keep this bullshit log, and that reminded me of times that like various jobs I've had where suddenly there's some like directive from the top being like, well, now every day you have to start doing this thing, and it's like, why?
Yeah.
But like, so I could feel with him. I felt his pain on that one, but also it like was an excuse to make it like more film noir, like with the narrative and stuff like that. And the
There
way
was
it
like
was,
the storm at the beginning.
Yes.
It starts out with a storm, and then there's like, like
femme
some
fatale.
femme fatale widow chick. Like
Femme fatale, mysterious murder.
and lines like at one point during the security log, Oda goes, "The Ferengi holds on to life like it's gold pressed latinum."
Oh, so much of the dialogue.
yeah.
So yeah, femme fatale, stormy weather, mysterious murder, shady investigator narrating the tale. And by the way, the use of the logs as a mechanism for getting in a narration, because not all film noirs have narration, but a lot of them do.
A lot of them
And-
do.
Lots of them.
And it was so clever to use even though it's sitting right there, it's obvious, but it's not, it's a clever way to be like, we want to do a film noir, we need a narration, we need Odo, the shady investigator, by the way, the shady investigator that you have to have in a film noir. All the characters are gray. Pretty much everyone involved in this. The story involves past events influencing current events.
I think that was just the way it looked back when the Cardassians controlled it, right? It was all like foggy and
Yeah,
crappy
well, that
looking.
too, but that definitely added into it. But
dim and foggy looking.
the transitions are also very noirish. There were a lot of like James L. Conway directed this episode, obviously a very famous and prolific Star Trek director. But one of the transitions that stands out to me the most as being straight out of like a film noir style movie was when Quark is all laughing in the past, and then it transitions into the bar patrons laughing in the present.
Or is it that one?
Yes,
Well,
except as it goes on, it transitions.
There's another one. I think it's that one.
Yeah, it might be that.
I think it's that one because that was that weird scene where, like, out of nowhere, Quark and Dukat start laughing at Odo.
Yes.
It was Odo goes or Dukat goes. And then Quark goes.
right, that was weird.
It was like really weird. It was like, and Odo was just like, "Aw."
I know, I was like, this is fucked up.
Speaking of Dukat, real quick,
These guys are working together.
mini side quest. You were asking me to provide an example of a sound that fits in the conversation, but also takes from the episode itself.
Okay.
Like kind of like the Quark at your service one. Someone say, Dan, I need something. Someone say that.
Hey, Jesse, that's on you.
Dan, I need something.
Just what is it you need, Gul Dukat?
See, it's answering your question,
Right.
but it's also saying Gul Dukat.
It says, yeah. I
So
see.
and so that
I see.
So that makes the quote more whole because it relates to the episode. But you can intuit that the Gul Dukat part is meaning Jesse in this instance. That's all. That was my example.
I think it's a great
I think
example.
that sounds cool.
We appreciate that.
Gold Ducat's pretty cool.
Jesse
pretty
and I appreciate that. Now, I hope you don't take offense, Dan. Because,
Oh, no.
Because
You're gonna make me take offense?
No, I don't want you to take offense. I don't.
When you say that, it means I'm going to have to.
No. Honestly, it's not even an offense. I don't think you would be offended by this. You may take umbrage, but I don't think so. But you may. I could understand why you might take
your
it umbrage.
feathers ruffled.
Because when thinking about the examples of how this is, they don't even like try to pretend. It's not like hints of noir. James L. Conway was like, we're doing a noir film. We're doing a short noir story using all the elements. And one of those elements that you already hinted at is the quick patter. There's a lot of that.
Oh, right.
But the main example is right at in that beginning scene with Quark and Paula Valtrex.
Paul F. Tompkins?
Yes. Valtrex?
Valtrex. Is that, wait, that's drug. Those are boner
Isn't
drugs.
Valtrex? No,
That's a
isn't-
boner drug.
No,
isn't
I
it?
think, Valtrex
it's like
I think
a
is a
herpes
herpes medication.
Oh.
So Paula Valtrex and Quark in the stormy weather.
That trick.
Oh yes, Patrick.
Oh, at the very beginning?
Very beginning. And the reason why I hope you don't take umbrage is because I made my own audio clip.
Oh, I guess
Sometimes he does that.
I guess I'll have to let it slide. I think that's gonna be okay.
Sometimes
I
he
think
does.
that's gonna be okay.
Okay, so
I think I'll let it pass this time. Patrick, I think I'll let it pass this time.
for the audience,
Ah!
Jesse and I have known Dan for, I don't know, decades now. What he's just done is an indicator that he's very upset with me. I'll be hearing about this later.
Oh, no.
Don't bother.
Okay, so here is just a little clip of an example of that noirish, typically noirish dialogue.
Would you like more ice?
I'm fine.
You were always very kind.
Was I?
Yeah, that part.
You made life a little easier.
I ran a black market for anyone who could pay. Never exactly thought of myself as kind.
There was always that little extra ginger tea in that package you gave me, wasn't there?
You didn't call me to Bejor to talk about tea.
What's up with this fucking tea?
Yeah, that
Everyone's
part.
Is it like really good or something?
Everyone loves the ginger. It must be.
You didn't call me to Bejor to talk about tea. You didn't call me to
Whoops.
Bejor to talk about tea.
I'm hoping you'll give me a better alternative.
Yeah.
I'm hoping you'll give me a better alternative. I'm
You
hoping
didn't call me to
you'll give
Bejor
me
to
a
talk
better
about tea.
alternative. I'm
You
hoping
didn't call me to
you'll give
Bejor
me
to
a
talk
better
about tea.
alternative. I'm
You
hoping
didn't call me to
you'll give me
Bejor to
a
talk
better
about tea.
alternative.
Ginger's for chicken. It's not for tea.
What was it?
There, I said it.
Whoa, dude.
Whoa, Jesse.
Chill out, man.
I mean, you're going to get us canceled here.
I was afraid.
Jesse, you can't be saying that kind of shit.
But
like, in
anyway,
public.
just
what?
I'm glad you didn't get too upset about that because I just thought I was originally just going to read the dialogue, but I thought that it's not just the actual dialogue, which is definitely noirish in how it's written down, but the performances draw attention to the fact that Quark in particular is not talking like he normally talks.
Yeah.
He's talking like Marlowe in one of
Right.
those, in like the Big Easy or something.
In fact, Patrick.
Big Goodbye.
In fact, Patrick, I'm glad you did play it because, like, when he goes, was I or was he saying?
Was I?
When he goes,
those are
Was I?
the Budweiser people
When-
from the
Yeah.
1990s.
right? That yes, you
1999.
1999.
You successfully named a thing.
Was I?
Okay. When Quark quickly goes,
Was I?
yeah, that was like very much like it, and then the whole talk about tea thing. So yes, I'm pleased. I'm pleased that you played that.
It mattered to me.
But two things I'd like to say real quick. That opening sequence at first, because it's been a while since I've seen this, I thought that was like a I thought he was on a holosuite because of like
It had some vibes.
Yeah,
but
right.
that-
Vibes of
but
that.
because it was so purposefully like film noir that it seemed like they were actually in a holosuite because it was just very deliberate how they did
At first
that.
I did until they talked about it was somebody on Bejor, and I was like, oh, okay, wait a minute. They were just on Bejor.
Yeah, and also
It definitely was like, this is a holosuite.
And also regarding the ginger tea, Jesse, if you remember at the end, Odo was saying he must have been a collaborator. He had the money for ginger tea. So apparently this ginger tea is like some expensive. They kept talking about this ginger tea this whole episode. And I guess it's really expensive to get ginger tea. It's just
Cardassians had a high tariff on it or something.
okay because
Well,
it's like
they-
I got a bunch of ginger in my fucking cupboard.
Yeah,
Exactly.
but here's the thing: if they're ginger, like okay, look, let me back up. Sometimes in
Well,
Star Trek,
it's not just
Ginger
normal.
all over my
when they,
balls.
sometimes in Star Trek when they say something, it's like, oh, it's the alien version. Maybe they're just talking about actual ginger, and it's expensive because it comes from fucking Earth.
Oh,
Well, they said
And they're
it's-
all like, the ginger is fucking amazing.
they said
I could buy the ginger is unique in the universe for its awesomeness.
Maybe
well-
they don't have chili peppers on other
well,
planets either.
They said it was Pyrelian ginger tea.
Oh, did
Oh,
they?
Pyrelian,
Never
they did.
mind.
That's right.
My
Never
theory
mind.
is undermined
remember that.
entirely.
He had Pyrelian ginger tea.
Unless my theory can survive.
No,
on the
it
head
can't.
on the head cannon
It
that
might.
I'll put a cannon on your head.
that the Pyrelians got some ginger from Oith. And
Oith.
they brought it to Pyrelius.
Perhaps they
And they're
cultivated
like,
their own strain.
yeah, they're like, oh, look at this. Ginger grows great on Pyrelius because it's got the right environment, maybe.
Speaking of-
and they talk like
It's
that.
the dirt.
I'm a Pyrelian.
They got Pyrelian
Speaking of
the
cannons,
pirates of Pyrelians.
speaking of cannons on heads, don't you think it'd be awesome if we had like holosuites and we had beltway races where we all get in like Mario Kart style cars with like turtle shell weapons, and we have an exact 1-to-1 model of the
You can blast the turtle shell.
Of 495?
of 495 or around the DC Beltway. We just race around and like blast each other. Wouldn't that be awesome?
That would be pretty tight.
That'd be tight.
That would be
That'd
great.
be cool.
For the vast majority of our audience who does not live in the DC region,
somebody
go to
does.
Google Maps, look it up, and you'll see what Dan's
Well, a
talking
lot
about.
of people have beltways, so they can
Lots of
imagine.
cities do.
They don't call them
actually.
beltways, though.
Well,
Some of them do.
They call them other
They call them
things.
like buttways or whatever.
I don't think they call them buttways.
buttways.
All the way around the ways.
I do look forward a little bit later to talking about Rom and all
course.
of Rom's business.
Max Grodenchik.
I never got to give my opinion of the episode.
Good. Let's hear Dan's opinion.
Are you sure?
So
Jesse implied his opinion because when I said I thought it was my favorite episode of Deep Space Nine, Jesse says something along the lines of, and I'm paraphrasing here, with good reason or something like that. I don't know, or something along those
here's
lines.
my
Good reason, sir.
here's my opinion of the episode. I recognize logically that this
You better
that this is that this is a good episode. Logically, I recognize that. These kinds of episodes are not so much my cup of tea, but like that doesn't
Your
mean
cup
it's,
of ginger tea.
yes, that
Pyrelian
doesn't,
ginger.
but that doesn't mean it's a bad episode. Like for example, if I was going to go to an authentic Mexican taqueria, I probably should expect corn.
Carnitas.
I
Corn-
should
corn tortilla.
Oh my god! Like, don't you did the thing? Okay, you did the thing, and you did the thing. Like Patrick did the thing where he was figuring out what I was going to say before I said it.
Was it more annoying that Jesse got it wrong, or was it more annoying that I got it, right?
They were
said
both
my own
equally.
shit.
They were both equally annoying because I'm just trying to say something here.
If you're going to be interrupted, do you prefer to be interrupted with the correct
Just
thing?
don't interrupt me.
I mean, I agree with that. That's a good starting point.
Okay, so look, what I'm trying to say is if I'm going to a Mexican taqueria, I should probably expect that they have corn tortillas. And if I don't like corn tortillas, I don't go to an authentic Mexican taqueria, eat a corn tortilla taco, and then give it 1 star on Yelp because I don't like corn tortillas.
Of course.
Precisely.
Agree.
But people do that, and I've read those reviews. I'm not just making up the thing. I read a review just
Those
like
are
that.
your neighbors. sir.
I read a review. No, they're not my neighbors.
the
This
people
is.
that live in your municipality.
How do you know it's where I live now?
I was just talking shit.
Yeah, you are talking shit. So why don't you
And
not talk shit?
Anyway, Jesse, he in his example, he went to an authentic taqueria,
Which they do have-
which is not going to be around here.
Well, they have stuff that's pretty close.
Pretty close.
So I'm not going to take points off this episode because these kinds of episodes are not something that I'm so much into. It's like the band Rush. I recognize that Rush is an excellent band. I
they?
personally don't get much enjoyment from listening to Rush, but I understand that a lot of people think they're brilliant, and I respect that.
What do you think
know?
of Radiohead?
I think I hear you.
I'm fine with Radiohead. I'm not crazy about them, but like they're good.
What about Rat?
I don't really care.
I don't even know what rat songs
No,
are.
the point I'm making, which I think you probably gathered by now, is that my issues with this episode are not issues with the episode. It's just more of issues with these styles of episodes. And so I hold nothing. I have no ill will towards this episode. I did enjoy it. It's not my favorite kind of episode, but they did a good job with it.
It's well put together.
Yeah.
Well, and here's the thing. A diversity of opinions is what's going to drive an interesting conversation.
Well, hell yeah.
It's one of the problems when Dan's algorithm, for those who don't know, generally speaking, when we're not doing new episodes of Star Trek, we have an algorithm that Dan has put together, and it selects an episode for us to watch.
Very impressive.
And when Dan's algorithm selects one of those sort of all-time awesome episodes, that can
Brought the
sometimes
house down.
that can sometimes be like less appealing than some of the lesser known episodes, because you watch something like The Inner Light, you watch The Wrath of Khan. It's like, yeah, I'm sure we can have a great conversation about that, but there's always that pressure of like,
But so is everybody else.
exactly, everyone else has talked about these, and when they're just sort of universally beloved, it's like, okay. And then sure, you can take the opposite viewpoint, but the thing is we're not going to do that on purpose.
Irony of ironies.
It is one drawback of our podcast is that we are
It's got Star Trek.
it's got Star Trek. We're honest, and if we all like something, we're just going to say we're going to say we like it. If we don't like it, we're going to say we don't like it.
We're going to do the weird episode.
yeah. So it's like, okay, whatever. But I don't know exactly what got me started on that.
I don't know.
on that.
Nobody
Believe
knows.
me, I have no idea.
There you go. I was just giving you an excuse to use a contextually appropriate sound clip.
No.
No, 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 no,
But
no, no,
beginning,
no, 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 no.
beginning of the episode.
Yes.
Beginning of the episode starts out all stormy and stuff.
Stormy and a stormy, stormy and a stormy,
And then-
stormy and a stormy. It's an episode that's stormy. Stormy starts the episode. That's how it starts. Yeah.
Crackle, crackle.
Crackle, crackle.
Dan's like, quit interrupting my stuff.
I did it to get back at you guys.
I don't think so.
I did. No, I did. I swear. I
thought it was fun.
I actively
It's a
did that
tick.
to get back at you.
I was not.
But my plan was foiled because
I was not
Jesse.
affronted by that.
Because
at all.
Jesse, my plan was foiled because Jesse seemed to enjoy the whole thing.
Irony of ironies!
Again, all I'm going to say is watch out for that big red ring, because that's a tick.
Help! Somebody help!
Could be ringworm.
All right.
What are you talking about? Tick? Are you talking about me singing was like a verbal audio thingy tick?
Yes, but I was using, a Lyme disease joke.
Yeah.
Lyme disease jokes, pretty hilarious.
Yeah. Yeah. Very, very, very much so.
Anyway, okay.
Yes.
What about key lime disease?
Oh.
Lemon lime?
That made me giggle. Okay.
Everything's under control.
No, it's not. But we're gonna get back on track here. So, Quark meets this lady. She gives him this job. She implies that she'll give him some kick-ass oo-mox
We're almost
out of the
past-
bargain.
Almost past the first part.
Almost. Then he and Rom break into the I forget, what is it now? It used to be the chemist shop. Now it's just a storeroom
It's just
or
a
something.
store, general store.
Like
General store?
like an apothecary, right?
All right. Yeah.
Well, no, that's what it used to be.
It used to be a
drug
Right.
because when they were in that chemist shop later, Odo goes, "I don't use chemicals," so it's just a drug.
I don't use chemicals.
So I guess it was
I don't
just,
need food.
it was just a place to get high, basically, right? It's where you got high drugs.
I don't know. It's
Maybe it was like a drugstore kind of.
yeah.
But if it's a chemist shop, that implies like some more serious shit.
Well, yeah, but sometimes sometimes in Britain they call it a chemist.
The
or-
thing is one way to interpret Odo
See,
saying
the-
I don't use chemicals. I have definitely taken it. Alternatively, him meaning he doesn't use chemicals, as in he doesn't. What was that in Star
doesn't
Wars?
need 'em.
What was that in Attack of Clones where they're like using like smoke sticks?
Death
Like, the
sticks.
death sticks.
Death
yeah.
sticks. So
Very-
stupid.
A little on the nose there.
So I've often taken it as Odo meaning that, but when I watched it this time, I was actually like, he could just be saying like, I'm a fucking changeling. I don't use chemicals.
But they're in some shady Cardassian space station. They want
Yeah.
to keep the public
Mollified?
subdued and all that
so
shit.
you think the Cardassians helped mollify the public by giving them access
they
to
molluskified
some
them. They
Wow.
mollusk them.
I can buy that.
Molluskified.
I can buy that, and it's something that I've often.
Would you buy it for
They're-
$1?
they're my
They're
interpretation.
Would you buy it for $2? Would you buy it for 100,000 litas? Because that's the form of currency
Lita.
that they have is litas. That's what they have.
Bajoran litas.
That litas are they're Bajoran monies. And interestingly enough, do you remember how Rom? His girlfriend was named Lita. Do you think Rom dated her because her name sounded like money
That's
in Bajoran?
probably what he liked. Yeah.
One was spelled Lita and the other was Leeta, but they were both meant money.
I didn't make that
and that's
connection,
why
but-
Rom
but
wanted
that-
it.
That's word.
She was also very sweet.
That's a good connection.
I
He
know.
seemed like a nice.
Jesse, isn't it cool that we get to hang out with this guy?
I know, right?
What's that supposed to mean?
He's smart. He's got all these sounds. He's clever. He makes these clever connections.
He says like funny things.
Oh,
He's
you
like
guys.
insightful things about the
Firemen like that.
He keeps us in line.
I honestly don't know.
He tells us when we need to straighten up.
Oh man, you make me sound like some kind of authoritarian.
No, we don't. Do we?
Tells us when we gotta shut the fuck up. Keeps us in
He
line.
hits us. He frequently hits us during breaks. Speaking of which, we are just about up on a break. But
What?
yes, but I wanted to just get to the
Don't
point
hit
where Quark gets shot because again, great scene where. Well, that's funny. Of course,
Yeah.
Rom is always hilarious with his reactions. I enjoyed Quark getting caught. He opens the thing. He looks at the list. It's funny that we live in an era in the distant past of these people where we always have a camera on us in our pockets, and he has to tell Rom to go get an imaging device.
Yeah. An imager.
So Rom goes off conveniently. The shady guy who was talking to Valtrex comes in, and then he.
I love love how Quark like flies across the room, and it's funny to pause it right before he goes flying away because his face looks all weird because it's like some kind of CG or stunt person or something. I don't know. It looks all weird.
What I liked about it was the snappy dialogue.
Doesn't that dude throw Rom across the room like later on?
Yeah, he does. In the med bay.
Yeah,
but he they have this fun little dialogue between Quark and the guy where the guy's like, "I'm sorry," and Quark's like, "Yeah, me too." Right, me too.
Now, they had Quark and Rom break in, even though that guy was going to go check on him anyway. I'm guessing because I'm wondering why they had that guy follow him. I know why they had him follow him because like they didn't trust them, but why did they need them in the first place? I guess because they were the ones that would have gotten in trouble. Like trying to, I guess breaking in was the hard part.
Yeah, I think the guy probably would not have been able to break in as easily.
Yeah, and so to let them break in and then follow.
Because she's asking Quark at the beginning, like, "Can you do this?
Can you do it? Can you do it?"
But I'll tell you what we can do. We can take a break, and then when we get back from the break, not only will we have a suggestum up, not only will we have continued discussion of necessary evil, but it looks like Dan's got something.
Well, I just wanted to, but when we come back, there was something about that scene I also wanted to mention.
All right, we're going to continue talking about that scene when we come back from the break, which will be. Wait, what do I say? I was like, oh yeah, we will be right back.
Stop by one of the horror suites.
And we're back.
2 programs for the price of 1.
Okay,
What's that supposed to mean?
Going back to my childhood, going back to when I was 13, watching this on air. I remember always how awkward that line reading was.
Yes.
From Armin Shimmerman, who is a consummate professional. He's always great. It was clearly incorrect. He did something weird, but because of the nature of the shot, I have to imagine that James L. Conway just really liked how Odo came into view in the camera pan or something.
Okay, so the whole sequence was, because the whole thing was weird. It began with... And then it goes,
stop by one of the horror suites. 2 programs for the price of 1.
Now, okay, there's 2 ways to look at that. Because on the one hand, yes, maybe it was bad line reading. But on the other hand, like, I can remember back when I worked in restaurants trying to be, like, overly gregarious with customers. And it comes off really forced and kind of like that. It was kind of triggering in a way because it reminded me of, like, oh, I think I've been like that sometimes. And it, like, and you see as he walks away, he's, like, not smiling anymore. It's like you could tell he put on a show. And then when he's walking away, it all leaves him. So it could be either way, but the way I took it was that he was just being like, you know, the gregarious host, and I use the word gregarious for the 3rd time, but he was just doing that, and like it was just over the top.
Would you like to now
gregarious?
Would you like to now take the opportunity to use a synonym for gregarious?
Jovially excitable.
Sure.
I don't know.
It's good enough.
Yeah.
I don't disagree with your observation, other than to say the problem is that we know that Quark is good at this. He is a good salesman.
But these are older times.
Yeah, but 5 years before.
Not that much.
You know, it's funny to think that
we see him being a good salesman in that time period.
You know, it is funny to think that the occupation ended like less than 5 years prior.
It ended right before Cisco shows
I guess
up.
that's true.
That's why everyone's all sad.
Certainly.
Stop by one of the horror suites. 2 programs for the price of 1. 2 programs for the price of 1. 2 programs for the price of 1. Stop by one of the horror suites. Stop by one of the horror. 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 2 programs for the price of 1.
He swallows and stumbles over the so that's already a problem. And then the 2 programs for the price of 1. Like, just the cadence of that is incorrect.
2 programs for the price of 1.
And he sticks his fingers out, and it's just everything's weird about it. However,
everything's weird.
The camera pans across, and then Odo enters, and it's a low shot looking up at Odo, making him look sort of mysterious and aggressive and all that other stuff. I'm guessing that really was framed nicely, better than the other takes, and so that's why they took the weird take.
Speaking of shots that were framed cool, when Odo, first of all, when Cisco and Odo were grilling Rom, I like how like Odo and Cisco presumably didn't have any time to work this out beforehand, but Cisco got on the same page as Odo,
It
like
was
real
total
fast.
good cop, bad cop.
Yeah, right. And but
At
like,
first you think Cisco's just being nice, but then Cisco's like, no,
But, like,
I'm playing good cop.
but it's funny because like they never really got an opportunity to like be like, okay, I'm good cop, you're bad. Like they just naturally fell into it. They just knew to do it. But when Rom goes, it was a list. The man who shot my brother stole a list. And then right then Odo's face comes from off the screen, a profile off the screen, and he goes, what kind of list? And as he's saying it, as he starts saying what, you see his face, and when he ends on list, his face is like right up in Rom's face, and it's just this weird. I like the shot because it's like no Odo face, and then from the side it just appears like this floating head off the side of the screen.
Great shots, excellent framing, excellent cinematography all throughout this episode. The end of the episode, not to jump ahead, but the closing shot with Odo juxtaposed across the console with Kira, and they're both kind of upset. Great ending, beautiful shot.
So that's right. Her first name is Nira. Nerys. What I was gonna
did you say your thing? Was that the follow up?
No, that wasn't. The follow up was
side quest.
So side quest, which is actually it's more. That was a side quest.
That was the side quest.
Okay.
Side quest concluded. Back to the main quest. Then the long awaited suggest em ups.
Yes, correct. Yes, correct. 2 programs, 1. 2 programs for the price of 1.
Not that long.
2 programs for the price of 1.
We're dangerous.
2 programs for the price of 1.
We're dangerous. 2 programs for the price of 1. We're dangerous.
So first of all, now I'm always wanting to know like the first times of things. Was this the first time we found out that Rom is kind of capable and competent in certain respects?
I don't think it's the first time. It may be the most significant. I'm not remembering a specific example, but my recollection is that Rom was initially introduced as sort of a total fool, but I think even at the beginning there were always a little hints that there was something more to him. But
this is only second.
This is definitely more than I think we're used to seeing of his competence.
It is, and more specifically, other people calling out his competence, like Odo, specifically saying he's not as dumb as he looks.
Was this the first time we saw? Like we got hints that Odo like had strong feelings for Kira, even if it's maybe not romantic in that point, but you could tell that he felt really cared about her.
Might be, I can't recall, but exactly. But
so
might be.
Anyway, so that whole scene, like it's Rom like convincing Quark that he can do all this shit, right? You know, I thought it was funny that Quark's Latinum vault floor, it's like you can open it just by like pouring some acid on it, and like fucking Quark,
it was special acid,
and like it was special acid, but like fucking Rom like paid for it out of his own salary. Like that's some bullshit. Like Rom shouldn't have to do that, you know.
That's Rom's character.
Yeah, but
he doesn't have the lobes for business.
He doesn't. But
that's what Quark says. Anyway.
So, anyways, Quark says he can open the Pulsatel lock seal with a desealing rod in 25 seconds, and Rom insists that he can do it in 10 seconds. Now,
this is some fucking Ultima Online. No, this is like Baldur's Gate. No, this is like D&D.
I think that was all the same thing.
Yeah, basically all the same. It all comes from the same world.
Yeah,
or not world, but concept.
I was perhaps too subtle in my joke. That was the intended, the sort of the intended subtext was that
the desealing rod is like a magical sword.
Like is it like a self-sealing stem bolt?
Like a lockpick set.
Well, okay. So, by the way, Nog made Rom his lockpicking device, but they should have used a 3D printer. But Nog just kind of made it with his hands.
Maybe he made it with a replicator.
But they said he said that Nog is always good with his hands or whatever.
Yeah. He used his hands to type in the instructions.
He said boy's always been clever with his hands.
Is he good with his fingers?
Just say.
That was that other guy.
But what I was gonna say is, so Rom was insisting that he can do it in 10. By the time they got to the door, it was the time in the show was at 6 minutes and 5 seconds when they got to the door. They talk.
I got you.
They talk for some. Rom talks about how he can like do it in 10 seconds, and by the time he's finished talking about it, he doesn't actually start until 6 minutes and 18 seconds. So about 13 seconds passes where Rom is just talking about how he can do it in 10 seconds, right? And then once he
before they even try it.
Before he even tries it. Now, once he starts at 6 minutes and 18, it ends at 6:22. So he actually took about 4 seconds. 4 seconds to do it. He said he can do it in 10.
Well, maybe that was just clever editing.
He took it in 4. Well, it was a oneer. If you look at it, it was a oneer.
A lot of oneers in this episode.
So it took him 4 seconds to do it when he said it was 10, but the problem was is he talked about it for 13 seconds before he even started. So in the end, I guess it was a little faster than what Quark would do, but like if they thought 25 seconds was too long, I don't know why he thought talking about it for 13 seconds wasn't too long. You know what I mean? Like you'd think Rom was so worried about getting caught, yet he wasn't worried about like just chatting about how good he was at it for 13 whole seconds. Where's the magic? The fact that they didn't get caught?
From my perspective, it's less about the magic of television.
It's all magic.
And more about the frailty of, well, I was about to say human, but, entities, sentient, sapient entities.
That Rom was willing to risk his own life just to prove his own, like just to sort of quell his insecurities by explaining to Quark that he was good enough.
Well, he wasn't risking his life. He was maybe risking arrest in this case.
Well, rest, but still, he was. If he's worried, if I'm worried about taking 25 seconds on something, I'm not going to shit and bullshit around about it for 13 seconds.
Exactly, but that's what I'm getting at is that there are different forms of intelligence. Intelligence is not a specific.
What's that supposed to mean?
A linear scale. Rom is clever in certain ways.
Scooby and Dooby days.
Not so clever in other ways, correct?
This is true.
Okay.
This is a good point.
All right.
This is a good point. You make a good point, Patrick. You make a good point.
All right.
You're dangerous.
You're dangerous.
Let's get through a very brief suggest-em-up.
Oh, yes.
So I wanted to talk very briefly about some noir movies, since this is a noir episode. And
Sounds wonderful for the children.
I was thinking about it, and I watched this episode in 1993, as it turns out.
Get out.
I didn't get into noir movies until later, until college. Oh, I thought there was going to be some clever...
A day.
Maybe
two.
Do you have like okay, that just doesn't... That's what we would... we used to call a non sequitur.
No,
I don't know what we call them.
No,
now.
you said I didn't get into noirs until
A day. Maybe two.
Yeah,
until later.
yeah, but that doesn't really make sense. And what I meant,
But it's like you didn't get into them until
later.
maybe a day, maybe two later.
No,
Well, it doesn't have to be perfectly accurate.
5 or 6 years.
It's not a
later.
non sequitur. It's just not quite accurate.
Well, what I'm getting at is
I don't care.
I liked this episode when it aired, and I had limited or no knowledge of the noir genre, or as Alex Trebek would say,
Irony of ironies.
genre. If you want to have some fun, go onto the old YouTube. Maybe you can.
I don't.
Maybe you can find it on Vimeo or Twitch. I don't know, but it's definitely on YouTube.
Vimeo.
And look up. There's like a 10, 12-minute compilation of every time Alex Trebek, the host of Jeopardy,
If you know who Alex Trebek is.
the deceased, recently deceased host of Jeopardy.
You're lying.
Every time he says the word genre, and you'll have a good time, I assure you. So go check that out. But in the
Don't
meantime,
bother.
in the meantime, I got into film noir later, but I'm wondering if this episode primed me for that. So when I started watching it I was initially introduced to film noir in an official capacity. I was taking a class on LA films, which was a really cool class.
He one of them class boys.
No, it was just a regular old college film class.
Them college class boys.
Firemen like that.
A lot of noir films just so happen to take place in either Los Angeles or San Francisco. A lot take place in Los Angeles, I believe. Double Indemnity does. Big Lebowski, which has huge noir elements. It's very noir influence. That takes place in LA as well.
Chinatown.
But I thought I'd just mention,
Yes, you've become the student of humanoid nature, haven't you?
some of the fun movies you might dig, and you let me know. Both of you let me know what you think of some of these. But Dan, you in particular, because you said you're not quite into these. You're not taking points away from this episode for being a noir, but that it's not quite your bag of tea.
When I watch Star Trek, I usually when I'm doing a noir thing, I kind of want to be in a specific mood for it.
Well, what about
Bob? I don't know. What about Bob?
What about Bob
Patrick?
is great.
That's a non sequitur, Patrick. Why did you bring that up?
At this point, that's a common thing that people say.
What About Bob is not a noir, it is a horror movie. The way to understand What About Bob is to watch it as a horror movie. So go do that right now.
Is that some sort of sexual reference?
But The Maltese Falcon, that's a great noir. If you like this episode, check out the Maltese Falcon. I'm sure you can find it for free on one of the services. If you haven't seen it, if you have seen it, then you know it's good and you're going to be prompted to go back and check it out again. Humphrey Bogart, famous, fun story. It's not a long movie. Great fucking dialogue. Really nicely filmed. Clips along very, very swiftly. Another great one, The Third Man. Suggest 'em ups. The Third Man. One of my favorites. Takes place in Vienna. It was actually filmed.
Is that the one in the graveyard?
Well, there's graveyard. Yeah, starts
Central
and ends in the graveyard that you've visited. But a lot of the city was still burnt out from the war because it takes place right after the war during the post-war occupation. Third Man's great.
The house down.
Already mentioned Double Indemnity. That's got the guy from My Three Sons.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, except he's involved in some shadier shit.
And my cousin Vinny.
Chinatown. Chinatown's like a neo. This is when you start getting into the neo noirs where it's in color. Chinatown's a great flick.
Right, neo.
But for sci-fi people, Star Trek is sci-fi nominally, right? Famously Blade Runner, and especially if you get the original version where they tacked on that Harrison Ford narration, which I haven't seen in forever. Have you seen the?
I always forget which is the one. Which is the? They say the one without narration is better.
That's the director's cut. That's the one I'm used to seeing.
That's when they say it's better.
Yeah, because the narration is kind of unnecessary. You really can get everything in the course of the film, but the narration is a noir element, so it's not. It's unsurprising that the theater was into that. Do you guys remember Dark City? Did either of you see Dark City?
I've never seen Dark City, but I'm very aware of it.
Okay, so Dark City is the movie that got fucked over by like The Matrix coming out, because Dark City is a really good movie, but the two things that happened that undermined it were, first, the Matrix came out around the same time and was flashier and kind of dealt with some similar things, but it went its own direction. I think Dark City is a much more existentially disturbing movie. The other thing that got fucked up was that Dark City, and if you're looking for a version to watch, you can watch out for this. The studio thought that it would confuse people.
No spoilers.
No, I'm not going to give spoilers.
No spoilers.
That's what I'm getting at.
I want to see it.
Yeah. This is exactly what I'm getting at. So the studio basically tacked on a huge spoiler to the beginning of Dark City.
Okay.
To what because like it's not even about twists or anything. It's just like the story of Dark City is really
silly.
Dark Silly. I'm Darth Silly.
Okay, I think we get the point of what you're saying.
But yeah, so check which version you're getting. That's the tricky bit. What are some other ones?
Don't push me.
Mulholland Drive. If you like some crazy ass Lynch, David Lynch lunacy, he just passed away not too long ago. I really enjoy it, but it's weird. Devil in a Blue Dress. Devil in a Blue Dress is a fun one. Insomnia. Do you remember Insomnia? Did any of you watch Insomnia?
I might have seen that, but I don't really remember.
It's got Robin Williams and Al Pacino in it, and it's interesting. I'm not going to say it's a brilliant movie. It's good. What's cool about Insomnia is the gimmick is that it's a film noir, but it's filmed in Alaska during the daytime zone where it's like it's bright out 24 hours. So it's got all the noir elements, except instead of being dark and foggy, it's all fucking bright. And it's all weird and bright because it's all horrifying. But the last one I wanted to mention, just because it's really one of my favorite more recent movies, is The Nice Guys. Have you guys seen The Nice Guys?
No.
Oh, man, you got to see The fucking Nice Guys. I'm not going to say anything more than
I will have to see The Nice
Guys. It is
now an imperative.
Jesse and Dan, I guarantee you will be highly entertained by The Nice Guys. And for you all out in the audience, I don't know you all personally, but there's a high probability, if you like this podcast, you're probably going to like The Nice Guys. So
Don't push me.
Go check out The Nice Guys. Well,
that's another one.
That's another one. Yeah, that's another one where it says, good catch, Jesse.
Don't push me, Odo.
See, it ends with Odo.
I'm paying attention this week.
Yeah, on point. But you can tell that even though it's referring to Odo, you can tell that I might be referring to whoever it is I'm pointing my face at when I play it.
Not just your face, your long bony fingers.
Don't push me.
Wagging those fingers around all evening.
He's been wagging those fingers a lot of wagging and wiggling.
Don't push me, Odo.
See,
anyway,
telling you guys, Patrick, not to push me.
No, those were all suggest 'em ups, not demand 'em ups.
Okay,
not order 'em ups. There's suggest 'em ups.
Just check 'em out 'em ups.
Yeah,
Blackmail.
But any folks out there who have not sort of explored around in the film noir space, go check them out. Old, new, middle-aged, I don't know what
There's
the
a
term
bunch.
is. It's a fun genre, and I think people who aren't familiar with it is worth giving a chance.
An investigator.
That's what they do.
Indeed.
So,
Hardly knew her.
so those
Okay.
are some good suggest-em-ups. We can see that
Your epidermis is perfectly normal.
Say what?
We can see that
Your epidermis is showing.
Your epidermis is perfectly normal. You didn't get that line? I'm shocked that you didn't get that line. You didn't get the line of Odo saying your epidermis is perfectly normal?
I don't remember that part.
It's when he's interrogating Valtrex and Dr. Valtrex.
Yes.
Paging Dr. Valtrex. He's interrogating her or asking her questions in the past after her husband is murdered. And he points out that she hasn't cried. And she says, what do you mean I haven't cried? And he's like, I've figured out that, I've observed that humans, their epidermis gets all puffy and weird.
That reminds me that I did have a 6-point list that,
Oh, good.
So, and this actually takes me to that if we want to go.
I'm excited and eager for a list.
This list,
one of Dan's classic lists.
This is called a 6-point list called Smooth Odo. So this is the.
And you're not talking about his face.
No. Oh, come on,
Well, because
you.
it kind of works on both levels.
No, I know
Best
it does.
play.
That's very funny, very droll. This is because of like how Odo used his detective magic. So number one, Odo, what you just mentioned, Odo could tell that Palro wasn't crying because of like looking at her epidermis or whatever.
Yeah.
Anyways, by the way, though, I don't think that's fair because each person is each person is allowed to grieve in their own way, and just because she's not crying doesn't mean she's not guilty. If somebody said that to me, you know what I would say? You know what I would say? No, wait. You know what I would say if somebody said that to me?
What would you say?
I'd say, "Don't tell me how to be."
Right.
That's what I would say.
Exactly.
Yes, but Dan, again, I think this is one of those cases where you're jumping the gun a little bit because he very cleverly, in my view, did not accuse her of not mourning properly. He just asked, he said, I'm asking, your husband just died 2 hours ago. Why haven't you cried? And she said, why do you think I haven't cried? She gave the wrong answer. You're right. She should have at that point said hey, people mourn in different ways.
See, so
or I hated the piece of shit.
Well, the answer that she gave that was I thought was a bad answer. She was like, "Well, I was angry and shocked." When she started giving different answers, and when you start giving several answers to the same question,
It was all his fucking tea. I hate that fucking tea.
That's when it starts sounding guilty. But anyways, fair enough. But yeah, I don't know. I guess you're right. I guess maybe. I don't know. It's just he seemed a little accusatory because he said like, "Oh, I noticed that you haven't been crying."
Well, he's kind of an asshole.
Well, that is true. I mean, and sometimes it's funny because, like, as Dan, you mentioned earlier, his malicious compliance with the forced logs, definitely hilarious, definitely in character. It's also kind of assholey.
Yeah.
More overtly assholey is when Odo is just super racist against Ferengi. He's like, they sell their own grandmothers or something, which is an uncomfortable overlay of unfortunate real world stereotypes that are kind of being applied here. Yeah, so Odo can be a piece of shit.
Okay, number two, he could tell that Kira didn't work in the mines when she said she did because he looked at her hands. Now that's a classic one. That often happens in shows. We're like, oh, your hands look so smooth. But I was thinking about it like
you have terrorist hands instead of worker hands.
He's good at investigating, not just because he's shifts shapes.
Shift shape.
He shifts shapes.
Okay, he can shape shift, which makes him
Shapes.
Sorry, it's like you made that funny, dude.
He's good at investigating, not just because he shapeshifts, which makes them able to blend in and spy on things and stuff like that, but he's also good at noticing things. Now, why is he good at noticing things? Probably because he's always paying attention to people to learn how to blend in with them. Part of being able
and
to
he's an outsider.
Part of being able to shape shift into like your environment means you have to notice all the very subtle things that go on so you blend in perfectly. So that makes you good at noticing things. On top of that, like you just said, he is alone and he's sort of like alone and
an outsider.
He's an outsider.
You can be alone and not an outsider.
Yeah, but he's an outsider. So he notices things because he can't be a part of them. But he wants to be a part of them, but he can't be. So the best way he can do that is by like trying to like notice watch them and all that stuff about them. So all that comes together to make him. I think it's interesting, this idea that a shapeshifter also makes a good investigator, not just because they can blend in, because they can change forms, but also because the skills required to be able to change shifts mentally is to notice shit. Number three, he noticed that Paro is able to pay her power bill
Yeah.
the day after all this stuff went down when it had recently been cut off for lack of payment.
Yeah.
So she got her money somehow. Number 4.
Can I pause real quick?
You can.
Because remember when when Odo does the whole power bill thing?
Power bill. Pow, pow, power bills. Pow, power bills. Power bills. Power makes it go.
Because remember, he's walking out before Odo asks her. Before both of these,
I got Jesse.
Audience, both of these guys are lunching out now.
Power wheels is what we were.
Yes, an old Power Wheels commercial. So Odo is talking to Valerian.
Valtrex?
Valerian
Valtrex.
And
Vincent Vega, Valerian
and it's all
Valtrex.
nice and pleasant. He's like talking about old times, blah, blah, blah. Oh, thank you, blah, blah, blah. And he's all walking away.
Yes.
And then
he Columboed him.
Yeah.
Oh, there was one other thing.
Oh, listen, there's one other thing I wanted to ask you about. Oh, there's one more thing, sir. Oh, one other thing.
One more thing.
One thing.
Oh, one more thing.
One more thing.
Gee, I almost forgot what I came here to ask you.
I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, like you're a big Columbo fan.
What are you talking about?
Well, you knew where to grab all those Columbo clips.
There was one other thing.
That's Odo.
Oh, listen, there's one other thing I wanted to ask you about.
That's Columbo.
Oh, there's one more thing, sir. Oh,
We're gonna listen to the whole
thing.
one more thing. One thing.
One more thing. Gee, I almost forgot what I came here to ask you.
Gee, I almost forgot what I.
That's kind of like
I came here to
last week when I played all those quotes from the Orb in Justice, and you didn't recognize some of those Orb quotes. I don't remember Odo saying some of those, but I guess all those were in the episode.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. You have to listen to last week's episode to know what we're talking about. But the same thing.
Last week we discussed Star Trek: The Next Generation's Justice.
Yeah.
Dan mentioned that.
Yeah,
I was reiterating that.
Mm-hmm. He somehow knew, number 4, he somehow knew Quark was lying about Kira's favors to Quark. Remember when Quark was being extra sleazy for some reason and saying that Kira got her job by doing like,
Yeah, right.
Is that some sort of sexual reference?
Yeah,
But-
he
but
did,
Odo-
he did the thing that Chris Farley does in Billy Madison when he's like, "Oh, that Veronica. That's Billy Madison.
That
right?
Veronica Vaughn is one.
She's one piece of ass. or
She's
whatever.
one piece of
And
ace.
I should know.
He goes, I know from experience,
that's
dude. Yeah. Yeah, he was doing that somehow, and somehow Odo knew that he was lying. He doesn't know Kira that well, so either that could mean A, he was really good at reading Kira, or B, his feelings were getting in the way, and like actually maybe she could have been capable of that, but Odo felt Artie's feeling romantic feelings towards her, so it could have been actually clouding his judgment about when Quark said that. But I'd like to think that Odo just really was able to notice that Kira wouldn't do something like that or whatever.
Yeah, and I think the other thing in there is it's always been sort of the case with Kira, and they do this with some of the characters where you understand that she has had this past, but then when you kind of see examples of it, it's discordant with what you know about her. Even though you understand this history that she's been involved with the Bajoran Underground and presumably has had to get involved in some shady, not so pleasant business.
The Bunderground.
So it's unsurprising that Odo has a sort of a, even though he doesn't know her background, of course, in the flashback, but it's so normalized for her that a perfectly normal person can be involved in these types of things.
Well, it's interesting. A real quick side quest again. Real quick. Speaking of the underground situation, so Dukat wanted Odo to investigate this murder, right? Because he's like this independent sort of sneaky shapeshifter guy. Gul Dukat is kind of the reason Odo is as successful as he is today. So we have Dukat to thank for Odo. Odo should be grateful in a way.
Odo owes his career.
Yeah,
Odo owes.
And so the reason Odo took the gig is he thought he was doing a good thing by finding out who the murderer was, and this is really good, But really, he was just helping Dukat fight the underground because these people getting killed were his connections, his basically his rats to the underground, collaborators. So the underground was fucking up his connections, and he was just getting Odo to prevent them from doing that. So Odo thought he was being noble, but really he was like getting in the way of all that. So it's kind of interesting how he got kind of played a little bit like that. You also notice with this episode, Odo starts off like really like kind of quiet and sheepish, but he gains confidence really fast as the episode goes on.
He takes to the role.
Yeah, he does.
For the reasons that you just explicated a mere few minutes ago.
A mere few.
It was a recent explication.
That
Maybe two.
The writing on Deep Space Nine is just so fucking brilliant because they understand their characters and then they produce stories based off of these complex characters that they created, and they let those characters evolve with the actors and with the performances, with the writing in very interesting ways. But they were set up from the beginning. All of the characters have these interesting backgrounds. It's a station full of misfits by definition, and we learned so much about Odo. We learned so much about Kira.
Yeah, there was some interesting things because this is
and Rom and Quark and all.
And this
that.
is the episode where we find out where Odo meets Quark, where Odo meets Dukat, where Odo meets Kira, where Odo gets called Constable. His name Constable.
Kira gives him basically she's mocking him, which is kind of funny. That's another thing. Like, and he doesn't unpack that.
And like in some of the early episodes, he every once in a while he would say like he doesn't like being called Constable in like the other episodes, and so maybe that's a tie back to that where it sort of reminds him of like that. I don't know. Or maybe he just doesn't like the title. He doesn't like the responsibility, the official responsibility. I don't know. He doesn't like to be called constable sometimes.
I don't know if he's all that good at it in the first place.
I don't like the responsibility of having to watch that clock over there.
Oh, but I have 2 more points.
Again.
I'm sorry. We just got to take a break.
Okay.
But that's good because people will listen through the break in order to hear.
They'll listen all the way through.
The final 2 points. So
all the way
when we get back, we will have Dan's final 2 points, and then we'll wrap up the discussion of this excellent episode of Star Trek Deep Space Nine.
Salad.
We will be
side of the break.
Right back.
I really ought to be getting back to my bar.
And we have returned.
Yeah, me too.
Always been here.
Cardassian neck trick.
Cardassian neck trick. Wait.
You did a Cardassian neck trick.
Cardassian neck trick.
You do some Cardassian neck trick.
What do you think the Cardassian neck trick is? Is it just him making a Cardassian neck?
I think so. I think that's what it was.
It's
just the funniest thing ever.
This is
like, look at this guy.
This is something that's been debated in Star Trek circles since this episode aired. And
The sabotage.
Those circles can go.
There's been some other references to the Cardassian neck trick, but some people say yes, it's just him morphing.
Part of it, just his neck
Cardassian
area?
neck.
Just his neck area?
But
it's all snaky.
I kind of buy into the argument. So a lot of people buy into that. A lot of people are like, that's all it is. He's just kind of doing a partial transformation into a Cardassian. What doesn't make sense about that to me
is why it would bring the house down.
and why, yes, exactly, is why would people be so fucking excited?
Yeah.
Because it's not just, I mean, Dukat sounds sincerely fascinated and excited about this.
You did a Cardassian neck trick.
And Quark is
You do some
fucking
Cardassian neck trick.
Cardassian. He's like, I can make so much fucking money. He's thinking about making money. It's not just being entertained. It's people will pay money to see this trick.
Big in this room.
There's something exploitative about it.
Well, clearly. And that's the other thing that makes me think there must be something going on. Like maybe he does an undulating wiggly wobbles or something.
Yeah.
Or maybe he has a flappy neck.
Or maybe he like makes his neck all long like a cobra neck, like a Cardassian.
Well, that's
Cardassians are like cobras.
That's what I was thinking.
Maybe he looks like some sort of Tim Burton-esque nightmare.
No, don't say that.
Burton.
Big, goofy clay eyes.
No.
No.
You're just saying no, and you have all these no recordings.
No.
I don't think so. No. It's not true.
right,
remember
lists.
points
Yeah.
5 and 6.
5 and 6 out of the 6-point list.
Smooth Odo. He could tell when Kira was lying just because of how her face changed. He could just look at her face and be like, "You're lying." And interestingly enough,
That's how I know when you're lying, asshole.
Oh.
No, I'm just playing.
Interestingly enough, she liked it when he said that. She's like, "Thanks. I'm glad to know that I'm not."
I think she was
lying."
playing him. I think she was playing him.
Well, I'm not done with my list yet.
I think she looked
I'm-
obvious. I
I'm
think she
not-
was obviously lying to make
I'm
him
not
think.
done with my list yet.
Okay.
Thanks.
That's when she was like, "Thanks. I'm glad you think I'm a bad liar." And then number 6, he figured out that Kira did kill Vatrick. Kill Vatrick. He figured that out. Which, by the way, he could have been a little smoother about that because, like, Palro was like, "I didn't kill him," and he goes, "I know." Like, why did he say that in front of her? Why didn't he just
front
leave
of Kira, you mean?
in front of Palra? Like, because like he put Palra.
Well, he was saying it in front of Kira.
Well, he said in front of both of them. He was putting Palra away, and Palra goes, well, you won't be able to convict me because I didn't do it. And he's like, "I know." It's like if you're putting someone in jail, you're not going to be like, "I know you're innocent." Right in front of him.
Yeah, she's not innocent of the crime she's in jail for. He's using her as a puppet to fuck with Kira.
No, I know, but the point is,
In the friendly, nice
No,
way,
I
though.
know, but the point is that if he was going to be extra smart about it, he wouldn't have said anything in front of her. And then when they left the room, then he'd start fucking with Kira. Like I'm saying, he shouldn't have done it in front of Paul Rudd because there was no reason for it. There was no advantage for him to say that in front of Paul Rudd unless he was just trying to be cute and clever.
I mean, that's for me. It's that's the latter.
Yeah, but that's
funny.
But that's not. But it's not.
It's more interesting.
But it's not. It's less tactful. It's not as tactful.
But he's also conveying to
Yeah, but it's unnecessarily. It's unnecessarily dramatic for a person to do that.
Yeah, but why wouldn't he? He was kind of friendly, not friends with her, but had this previous relationship.
But it's just
interaction.
It's just you're sacrificing strategy to be like, I'm clever.
Well, he solved the mystery, and she was a core part of the mystery.
Yeah, but like if you're gonna,
he's telling her, "I know you didn't because I've solved the mystery."
It's behavior like that. It's like when you watch a movie and the fighter knocks the dude down, and he turns around and goes, "Yeah, I'm the best, and then that other dude gets up and like punches him because he wasn't looking. It's like that's. He was opening himself up for.
I just don't think that
like she's guilty.
Applies.
She's guilty of something else, and so he's like, "Yeah, you're not guilty of that."
Yeah, but I'm saying he was giving away more information than was strategically necessary, and I think that was unnecessary. There was no need for it. There was no need for it.
Speaking of,
but wait, I'm not done with my list. I'm not done.
I know, but this is just one of those little tiny points.
Okay,
one of those tiny points.
Okay,
that relates to what you were just talking about. Valtrex,
How many times have we done that?
Vatrick, Miss Vatrick, Paola Vatrick. I really enjoyed how in the flashbacks she looked like she didn't have a lot, but she's still better than a lot of the other Bajorans wandering around the station. Clearly, she was sort of.
She had her own room or something.
Yeah, and her dress was nicer and cleaner, but very simple. But then in the contemporary times, she was so over the top in how fancy she was, but she also was broke.
Yeah,
so she's one of those people that I guess used their wealth too quickly because they wanted to not feel like they were living.
She should have invested.
Yeah,
you don't invest in like. Expensive shuttlecrafts and things like that because they lose value as soon as you take them out of the shuttle
out of the system.
Shuttle pod.
I got the impression she might have had the old Elton John problem where she used to buy a bunch of flowers every day. Yeah, have a bunch of flowers.
Well, what I was going to end on is Odo maybe wasn't as smooth as he thought because he was wrong. Kira was a good liar.
He's pretty smooth when he gets in that bucket.
He doesn't know everything. So he was smooth all throughout, and he was pretty smooth when he detected she was lying, and she was even like, "Oh, I'm thank you for not calling me liar," but he wasn't. That's the twist, because she was right all along.
Yeah, because she was not only good at lying, she pretended she fooled him.
Fooled you!
Classic. That's a classic line from Spaceballs.
I gotta get that sound effect.
Coming up in 2027, Spaceballs 2, The Search for More Money.
Thanks. Is it actually going to be called that?
I know, but we'll see who knows. We'll see.
Certainly.
Yes.
It's going to have like 2 people in it or something?
No, most of them are still alive. Rick Moranis is coming back. He's coming out of retirement.
What about
Bill Pullman?
Colonel Sanders?
I don't know.
He's dead.
Is he dead?
I think so.
Well, yeah. Couple of them dead.
Yeah.
Bog is. Barf is dead.
Barf.
No,
So
John Candy.
I was Chesso.
God Matrix.
I was kind of a little bit the whole Chesso plot line, like
Cesaro.
Well, they called him Chesso, and then they called him Cesaro because whatever.
Well, Rom misremembered even
right.
under the semi-hypnosis. That Odo attempted to put him in.
Yeah. Oh, that was okay. I wanted to.
That was another great.
That
scene.
was a weird scene. It seemed like
I love that scene.
Like, okay, I'm not going to say it was a bad scene, and I'm not going to say it was unnecessary because it's all about the flavor and texture. But something about it felt a little unnecessary. But that's
past,
okay.
Rom, not your future.
He's like breathe. It's like going through breathing exercises.
Frustrations. That's what I liked. It was Odo was so frustrated that he was having to fucking dig around in fucking goddamn Rom's mind of all people.
Yeah,
he needed Rom to help him, and he clearly doesn't really respect Rom. Certainly not at this point.
You know what Rom needs?
Companionship.
That's the nice way of saying it.
Companionship.
That's what Rom needs,
and he'll find it one day.
That's the nice way of saying it.
In the arms of
what I
Lita.
mean is,
You miss her companionship.
Bugaboo bread, no crust.
Companionship.
Macabu bread?
Macabu bread.
What are you talking about?
That's another thing that Jake says.
Is Jake? Does Jake say that?
Come on, man.
Dan's doing some
You're doing that thing.
weird thing while he's trying to look up the sound effects.
Look up what sound effect?
Don't worry. I don't know. It's part of the charm of the podcast, Dan. It's part of the charm of the podcast. People get a peek behind the scenes.
Wait, you mean this?
Rock the Gino, extra sweet. Macabre bread, no crust. Macabre bread, no crust.
Yes, we know it very well.
I want to get some macabu bread.
I want some macabu
but with
bread.
the crust.
Yeah,
Patrick doesn't like it when you say macabu bread.
I like it with the crust. I got no. I don't like it with. I don't know.
I like crust. I'm a crust man.
Okay. You did not enjoy that scene.
The
chess.
I didn't unenjoy that scene. I thought it was fine. It was good. I don't have a problem with it. It just was funny. It was just like it felt like it just felt like I said, it's fine. It's good. It was. I don't have any complaints. I don't have any complaints.
I loved it.
It was the best.
No, it's good. It offered texture and flavor, and it's memorable. It's just kind of funny that they thought
flavor all up in your face.
Thank you. It's just funny that they thought to put it. It's just it was funny they thought to put a scene like that in there. That's all. That's all I mean. It's no problems. No problems.
It was cinematic umami.
There you go. Cesaro, though, I was confused because he was supposed to be helping war orphans, but somehow he was implicated. I didn't really pay close enough attention to that
He was
part.
a rich guy who was donating to war orphans.
Yes, right.
But we're given to understand that during the war, he gained his riches in part by being a collaborator.
Oh, great,
yes.
right, yeah.
So him donating to orphans is just like...
Was he laundering money?
No, I don't think so. I think it's just the James Bond villain style, he opens a kindergarten, but he's also murdering people, or, Classic story.
Yeah, classic story.
The sabotage. I'll be executed for the sabotage. Who cares about Bajorans killing Bajorans when you can hang a rebel? I came here to commit acts of sabotage against the Cardassians. Last night I succeeded. A colleague of mine was given the job of sabotaging the ore processor. The sabotage.
Sabotage.
I'm not joking, Lee.
These first two sound effects are funny because there's a period in the middle that she doesn't respect. In this, listen for it here.
All right.
I'll be executed for the sabotage. Who cares about Bajorans killing Bajorans when you can hang a rebel?
Something the sabotage. Who cares? She goes something sabotage. Who cares? There's a period in there, and it happens here too.
I came here to commit acts of sabotage against the Cardassians. Last night I succeeded.
Last night I succeeded.
Yeah.
It's just interesting. There's two lines where she just has no respect for a period.
For
a period.
Interesting way to characterize it, but I can't disagree.
Cannot. Can you? There was a rule of acquisition.
Wives serve, brothers inherit. Rule of acquisition number 139, if I'm not mistaken.
What do you think of that rule, Jesse?
I'm down with that one.
I don't know if that was the right response.
Okay. It's especially perplexing.
Don't you touch anything.
It's especially
ever again.
It's especially perplexing because Jesse, like me, doesn't have any brothers. Jesse and I only have sisters, whereas Dan has brothers.
I just have one sister.
So Dan having brothers, it's a different question.
Yeah.
So okay,
right, you've got two.
Am I being asked the question?
Well, no, I'm saying that's why I asked Jesse specifically because it was interesting to me.
Yeah.
The idea of what somebody would think of this, not only who is a presumably modern progressive thinking person, but also somebody who does not have brothers. But okay,
I think it's funny how it wasn't even Quark was jokingly I sure hope he dies so I get the bar.
You mean Rom?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I said Quark. How Rom said wasn't even jokingly being I hope he dies so I get the bar. He was bummed out when he found out that that Quark wasn't dead. In fact, he was all going
You're a hero, Rom. You saved your brother's life.
It was funny, you notice after he did that, Quark was smiling at his brother's pain. His brother was in pain.
Beautiful.
So Rom really wanted his brother dead, and then Quark was laughing because his brother was bummed out. Ferengis are fucked up.
Well, and what's great is, again...
They come from a mud planet.
Unlike Vulcans that come from a fire planet or a lava planet.
With nothing on it.
What's a desert planet?
Well, it's all fiery looking.
Deep Space Nine.
It's fiery looking. Do you disagree?
It's got nothing on it.
It's got fire looks. It's got molten lava. It's got lava. It's got lava. Maybe I had some lava.
What kind of planet is that?
Maybe I had some lava.
There's this week's Pulp Fiction reference. You can win money if you. We'll have a contest if you can pick out all the Pulp Fiction references.
Let me do it.
No. It's just that they do such a good job with building these characters. Look, Star Trek is good at this in general, but I think Deep Space Nine in particular, characterizing these aliens as truly alien, not just sort of funny variations on human behavior, but the Ferengi with they're cutthroat. They really are like that. And it's just, it's fun when they get to portray that, including having Rom, who is sort of a pushover. He loves his brother, but is also like totally into the idea of getting to take over the bar.
It's in speaking of like how different alien species think differently, like back at the part where Odo was complaining about having to keep the log, he was like, these humans like to keep so many logs, they try to store them microscopically.
They have to store them microscopically.
They have to store and like
isolinear rods.
And it's funny because like to me, I'm just like, well, yeah, don't you want to store history and information?
Right.
That just makes sense, but like not everybody's like that, I guess.
No, that is that is a
Odo has a memory, and then everybody connects in the.
Oh yeah, that's right. They just
big goo.
Yeah, see, we
pool.
can't.
aspect of culture.
See, Odo should be more sensitive because we can't connect in the goo pool, so we can't. So we have to do
he doesn't
something.
know about it.
He
yet,
doesn't. He
right?
doesn't know about it at this stage.
Oh,
But
that's
he's still
true.
got whatever.
Unless he has some vague
He's got some
memory.
some instinct. He's got an instinct.
Yeah, I
that's
agree
telling
with
him.
that.
Yeah.
Because that's why he feels so alone. That's one of the things that accentuates his
Alone.
loneliness. It's not just that he's different and therefore excluded,
So
often
lonely.
excluded by the people around him. But in addition to that, he recognizes the loss of the link inherently. Although, yes, they probably would not have known that about the character at this stage in the television program's progress.
A question to you guys about differences. There's this line Odo says, if you know as much about me as you say you do, Gul Dukat, you know I don't lie. I am convinced that she did not kill Vatrick.
Yeah.
Who lies less, Odo or Vulcans or Starfleet?
Odo did not lie in that case.
But I'm saying in general, who lies less?
Maybe Odo.
Odo, Vulcans, or Starfleet?
Definitely Odo.
Yeah,
Definitely
I'm gonna go with Odo.
On average?
On average,
all
yeah.
together.
So
And-
you say...
and Dan's referring to a common thread on this podcast and other Star Trek conversations about how the fact that there's Vulcans have this stereotype that they can't lie.
This is what
but we
They're lying
know
all
it's
the
it's
not
not
true.
a stereotype. They say that.
Well, they support that stereotype. They lean into that
They
stereotype.
say that. They say,
rely on
well,
that
they straight up
stereotype.
say, like, as a Vulcan, I cannot lie. They
But-
say that.
yeah,
It's
but
not
that's a
just
lie.
a stereotype.
But that's a lie, and
But
that's
I'm
what's
just
so
saying
funny
it's-
about it.
But I'm just saying it's not a stereotype because it's what they
They're
say.
lying to themselves.
I
That's how their
still
whole
think
culture
I
works.
think it's a social construction. Let's
But
just say that.
they assert it themselves. It's not usually a stereotype is asserted by someone from the
You
outside.
can define it different ways, but I'm happy to say
If I
whatever,
say-
whatever you want to call it, it's a
If
socially constructed
if I say I
reality.
like to jump off the high dive at the pool, that's not a stereotype. It's something I'm telling you about myself. Now, whether or not it's true is different.
Yes, I'm saying it's not a fact. We know Vulcans lie. It's something
And-
that,
and-
I
that
bet it's
people
not
just
true.
believe about
And then
them.
Starfleet, of course, is from this one.
I'm with Starfleet. We don't lie.
There's that too.
Which is from last week's Justice.
Yeah. So who lies less, Vulcans or Starfleet? On average.
Starfleet.
Starfleet,
Starfleet. Yeah.
So you'd say Vulcans lie more than Starfleet
All the
and
time.
Odo?
I think most Starfleet officers and enlisted people are largely honest.
Largely.
I don't know, man. I mean, I would believe that Vulcans lie less than Starfleet. Starfleet's full of a bunch of humans.
I think Vulcans can't go.
The
You're saying
Federation lies.
They can't go more than
Not
one
necessarily
paragraph without
Starfleet.
lying. I think they're
Vulcans?
just constantly
It's
bullshitting.
part of their whole thing.
Now-
I think they fucking get off on that. You know why they only
Patrick
have,
has jumped the shark on this
no,
one.
No. The Vulcans only have to go into Ponfar once every 7 years because they're satisfied the rest of the time just getting off on fucking lying to people.
I'm not joking, Lee.
Lying to their fucking faces, and every time they do, they're just like, yeah.
Okay, I see what you're
fucking,
doing.
fucking lie to that fucking human, that stinky ass fucking
Sticky
human.
ass red blood.
Did you notice that when Odo turned down that drink that Quark was offering, he had a soft drink on
Yeah,
the ready?
yeah.
Like, and it had a frilly thingy bingy on top, almost like he was making fun of him
Quark,
for like.
Quark was workshopping that gag
Yeah, I
for
know.
the previous week,
Yeah.
and he was like, I can pull it on this dude.
Yeah, he's like, oh,
this
I
guy
guess-
hasn't been in here yet.
Here's a little frilly thing for you.
He's like,
a funny
he's like, I've
glass.
tried this gag on every other
Yeah.
motherfucker who comes in this bar, and finally a new guy comes
Now
in.
I can make him feel stupid. There is a duty or no duty.
Oh, that's exciting.
Isn't that exciting?
Would you like to do it now?
Sure.
Let's do it.
Okay, duty or no
Now
duty?
or not now.
Duty or no duty?
wanna-
Is this the song we're playing?
Oh, yeah.
Duty or no duty?
I didn't-
This is the song we're playing. Yeah.
I don't have the theme song
It's
loaded
okay.
up.
We don't have to play it.
Yeah, it's a long theme song.
It's good enough.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Duty or no duty?
I'll need the communication records for the Vatric home for the past 52 hours and have the central bank keep a supervisor on duty all night. I'll need several bank records as well. Duty all night. Duty all night. Duty all night. Duty all night. Duty all night.
I'm going to defer to Jesse, but it's very clear to me. It's super clear.
No duty.
I'm going to have to go no duty on that as well.
No duty.
No duty.
Very
It's
clearly.
unanimous. Easily.
He's very,
No duty.
He says it very
Duty
clear.
all night. Duty all night. Duty all night.
And as a
Duty all
reminder,
night. Duty all night. Duty all night.
He's usually
Duty
very
all night.
clear about his duty.
Duty all night. Duty all night. Duty all night.
as a
And
reminder,
without a whole lot
We
of
don't
duty
need. We don't need to explain to them the rules anymore. They just have to figure it out through context
no, I
clues.
think we just have to explain.
No, they can figure it out. If they've never heard the game, they can figure out what duty or no
Let's
duty.
be very
Odo
clear,
doesn't duty
I just,
around.
let me at least
He's
say.
duty.
Wow, you
I-
really can't stand it,
no,
can you?
No, we won't. Okay.
This is driving you crazy.
No, it's fine.
No, you can explain it. It's
No, no,
fine.
no,
I just
no.
think it's humorous
No,
that
we're
it's
not-
driving you crazy.
I'm fine with your suggestion.
No,
that
it's
we,
fine. I don't
we
care.
don't provide the detailed instructions or description of the duty or no duty game.
Everybody already
But
knows.
at least let me emphasize that the game is called Duty or No Duty. It is not duty or no duty.
Well, you just gave it away.
No, I'm just saying that's all the information you need to know. It's duty,
Chief O'Brien?
duty or no duty. Okay. And that was
Where
it,
would
right?
I stay?
It was just the one duty or no duty?
There's just the one.
Interesting.
Well,
There was not somebody talking about getting off duty? No, probably not.
Is that some sort of sexual reference?
indeed.
All
I
right.
wondered myself.
That was a good duty or no duty.
Oh.
Quite good.
Now, what did you think? We touched briefly on it, but the
wasn't the
whole
best.
Wait, the line before Ducat and Quark were laughing at Odo, it was Quark goes, "Listen, I feel you and we've gotten off to a bad start here. Let me make it up to you. You need anything? A little ginger tea? No, you don't drink. Chocolate? Maybe companionship?"
Companionship?
And that's when they started, Ducat was like, and Quark was like, it just seemed so unnecessary. That laugh, it was just so excessive.
They were just laughing
They
at
were just
Odo.
fucking-
just like,
yeah, I
it's
know.
like, you little worm.
He's a little worm.
This guy doesn't
He's a
fuck.
squishy little
Oh,
worm.
he's doing the worm
He's
voice.
got the worm.
I
in
don't
him.
need that companion.
He gets all gooed up and gets in your face.
I'm my own
Goes
best
into
friend.
his bucket.
He goes into your face after he hangs out in his bucket. He comes out your face. He's a worm. He's a worm.
I forgot that Dan recently introduced to the traditional worm voice
lore.
Lore, yeah, you introduced this whole worm face and worms coming out of the face, which is not.
I'm
something-
Odo, and I can turn into a worm because I'm a shapeshifter, and I come out my bucket and out your face.
Yeah.
I'm a worm.
So okay, what I was getting at
Companionship.
a moment ago was that we touched briefly on it, but didn't really get fully into it about Kira's.
Is that some sort of sexual reference?
about Kira's betrayal, for lack of a better term. Maybe that's not the right word, but she lied to Odo, right? Now,
She lied good.
but yes, but for very good reasons. But then we have to consider how does that impact
You're lying.
their relationship. And it was interesting to see this scene at the very end of the episode where they're having this conversation where Odo has revealed to Kira that he now understands that she did kill the Vatric fella, right? And Kira explains that she tried to tell him, but she kind of felt, it's gonna fuck shit up because I lied to him for this whole time and I didn't tell him. It's an awkward thing. It's one of those awkward things. It's a relatable experience where you can get why Kira wouldn't mention it. You can get why Odo would be pissed that she didn't mention it because it prevented him from resolving a case that Kira by now knows how that itches Odo. It itches him all inside. His full gloopy body is just
He's like an inner itch.
he needs to take some fucking Benadryl or some shit because he's itchy all
slide
over.
all over some sandpaper.
Because he has an open, unsolved mystery.
Velcro.
And that
Half of the
aggravates Odo.
Will you ever be able to trust me in the same way again?
It is like sandpaper. And Kira could have solved this for Odo at least for the last year, right? In that she's been working with Odo back on the station in a different capacity. But at the same time, what was super cool about that is when she asks Odo point blank, she's like, is this going to affect our relationship, basically? And they end the episode with him looking at her and the whole kind of sad.
Yeah, I mean, that's the last line of the thing.
Yeah, it's a great line. It's a gray ending for a gray story where all the characters are.
It's a gray show.
Gray area characters. It's the epitome of Deep Space Nine in that sense. Another reason why I love this episode. But what I saw in Rene Aubergenois' performance of Odo reacting to Kira was that he was, on the one hand, disappointed in her and frustrated and sad that she didn't tell him. On the other hand, I think he was delighted that she cared for their relationship so much that she didn't tell him.
Yeah.
That the reason she didn't tell him, and he believes her, the reason she didn't tell him was because she was worried that it would impact
And
their
when
relationship.
she says, "Well, will you ever be able to trust me again?" She sounded really upset. So
Yeah.
that's
I think he was over the moon at that point, mixed with the sadness of kind of not realizing what Kira had gotten involved with those many years ago.
Oh, that one part when he, because Odo was pretty smooth throughout this episode, being
not
like,
just his face, right?
Yeah, not just his face
or his butt.
Was that technically a callback, or was
no?
that
It's just me repeating a joke,
yeah,
in case
yeah.
people didn't catch it the first
Gotcha.
time, Or maybe somebody's listening to this on some weird live service and they've just tuned in halfway through.
Are we being broadcast without our knowledge?
Until you just said that, I hadn't considered it. Now I'm a little nervous.
What if there's somebody listening to it and somebody else walks into the room or something?
There you go.
What if there's Wi-Fi chips in everything? There's like
What if, dude?
nano Wi-Fi chips in our wall paint. So Odo is being like confident and detective and super awesome and like, oh, I'm super smart. You weren't crying and you're this and you're that. And then he got ahead of himself. He got too confident when he sat down with Kira at that one point and goes, "A pretty girl like you shouldn't be eating alone." That was the part where she's like,
creepy thing to say.
Yeah, it was a really creepy thing, but he was trying to be,
She almost kicked him in the balls.
he was high on himself being like, "I'm so good at this," that he said something like that. And it was like, that doesn't work coming out of your mouth, Odo. Doesn't, and not to Kira of all people. Yeah. And she was basically like, "Yeah, don't say that or I'll kick you in the butthole."
Yeah.
She had like long hair and it was like in a ponytail. It was funny.
Yeah, it was interesting.
It's hilarious.
I mean, it was hilarious.
It was
but
weird.
It was also kind of cool.
It was cool.
No, it was cool, but
Yeah,
you always see her with relatively shorter hair.
Yeah. So the flashbacks, the mirror stuff, when the characters get to play different versions of themselves, it's always fun. But what's not so fun is jibber jabbering on forever. So we have to conclude our discussion.
We do, but
necessary evil.
That's a necessary evil.
That's a necessary evil.
What about that weird? Okay, as Chakotay describes it,
Chakotay.net.
Yes, who do you think they mean when they say the Muscle Man? There's a character they refer to as the Muscle Man.
The Muscle Man.
Yeah, they call him the Muscle Man.
Is it the bad guy, like the assassin guy or whatever?
Yeah, who appears at the beginning of the episode, like after Quark leaves the room. Yes, that guy. They refer to him as the Muscle Man.
Why would they call him the Muscle Man?
I don't know, because maybe
he seemed like a fairly diminutive fellow.
Well,
he was able to judo Ram and
they use English spelling, so like favor is VOUR.
You mean UK spelling?
UK spelling, yeah, that kind of English.
So they call the trunk the boot.
So maybe Muscle Man is just something they say in the UK more than to refer to an assassin or a goon. He's a goon. Instead of a goon, you call him a Muscle Man.
Could be that he's.
Or maybe they mean those little pink muscle men. You remember those little pink wrestler action figures, the Muscle Man?
I do remember those. It's probably not that. It's probably what you said earlier. That yes, this is a British, a UK.
There was one guy that was just blocks.
Yeah, I had that guy. He was block hands and a block head.
I had that as well.
Yeah, I love those things.
I'm a part of the group because I had that as well.
Yeah, you are part of the group. You belong finally. I thought that that Muscle Man was kind of it was just kind of, it was there to like, I guess, do some plot things that had to happen, but I just expected him to play more of a role somehow, and it seemed like he only appeared every once in a while to like be like, okay, let's move this plot along a little bit,
You always got to have henchmen.
Yeah, but it's just I just would like to have seen him hench a little more,
I got you.
I just that's all.
Inferior henchman.
It's not a problem. I didn't really care that I missed him. I'm just saying I expected more from him.
Yeah. Well, so that's going to do it for us this week. We hope
we've been ending these episodes earlier and earlier. We used to go on to like 1:30.
We're trying to keep it.
I start the episodes and then they end at the right time because of things like this.
No.
You'll comment
for the longest time we would end between 1 hour 32 and 1 hour 35, and now recently you've been getting more strict about ending at exactly an hour 30.
I'm always trying to target an hour 30, and frankly, even shorter if I could manage.
But like in the past, like I've seen, it wasn't uncommon for us to go to like 1:34, and it wasn't just my fault. Like in the past, podcast. I'm just saying I think more recently you've been becoming a little bit more stringent about it.
All right. That's a good observation.
So I just think that you should make it more aware to the rest of us that when you decide to be more stringent about these things, because this is our podcast, not your podcast.
With that observation,
you have nothing to say to that.
I do, but we don't have time, so we can talk about it next week.
You're making it your podcast again.
With that observation, we have to conclude this week's conversation, but next week, it's all lined up already. Next week, we're excited. I don't know how excited we are.
You know, like when we started this podcast, I offered to help you edit it, and you said no.
Okay. Next week we'll be talking about the Catwalk from Enterprise.
I'm just saying
Enterprise's The Catwalk.
I'm just saying that when you say like I'm the one who edits it, so I get to make these decisions. Remember that I offered.
You'll start editing it next week.
By now I already have I have a different role now.
When we discuss The Catwalk from
I'm just saying these
Enterprise's
decisions should be made by all of us, not just
second
you.
Season.
These decisions should be made by all. This is ridiculous. He won't even talk about it. Why won't he even talk about it?
www.itsgotstartrek.com.
Tyranny.
Because
It's Got Star Trek.
There's nowhere in the editing podcast that says you decide how long the podcast is. These are decisions that we should all agree on.
It's because I'm going camping for 3 days and I have a very limited time to edit this tomormow morning.
He's got
See, you could pass that information along, and it would.
That's why we're recording on a Thursday night.
I'm all about I'm doing what's easier for you. I just communicate it. That's all I'm asking.
And
he won't even agree to that.
Scott Star Trek YouTube.
It's ridiculous.
YouTube, subscribe to us there. That'd be awesome. And we look forward. We look forward to talking to you again next week. Bye bye.
Oh, there was one other thing. End log. Now, what do you see?
The bar.
Yes.
With my name on it.
The past, Rom, not the future. The box opens. There's a piece of paper inside it.
Yes, I see it.
Quark unfolds it. There's a list of names, Bajoran names.
Right.
The one at the very top catches your eye. And the first letter is...
C. It's a C.
And the next letter is... Skip to the last letter in the name, Rom.
Oh, it's an O.
Starts with a C, ends with an O.
And there's a mark in the name.
An apostrophe.
Chesso.
You're sure?
Yes. Maybe.
Maybe.
It's something like Chesso. I think.